The orca breeding ban is a policy that was established by SeaWorld CEO Joe Mandry under a new partnership with the Humane Society of the United States that states that the current pod of orcas in the care of all three parks will come to an end along with the theatrical shows. However, while there's not much of a concern in regards to changing the nature of the shows as long as it continues to be enriching to the animals throughout the day, the main problem is basically this so-called breeding ban and its possible negative effects on not just the orcas, but also the entire marine mammal community. And the first reason is the partnership with the Humane Society of the United States. As some of you may not know, the Humane Society of the United States is an animal rights group that is known for lobbying against zoos and aquariums across the states while using bribery in the process in order to get what they want. In addition, they also spend money on ads to make them look like this rescue group that goes out and saves domesticated animals like cats and dogs from harm's way in order to seek donations from the public. However, truth of the matter is that of the group's $130 million income, only about 1% goes into actually helping animals in trouble, and they don't even run any animal shelters either. The rest, however, has gone off into offshore hedge funds, legal fees, advertising what they claim to be doing, lobbying, and paying hefty incomes. So for any zoo and aquarium to collaborate with a radical animal rights group that is known for spending money on its staff's lavish lifestyles and legal fees rather than actually helping animals just seems to be too conflicting, because many zoos and aquariums like SeaWorld do more than just showcase animals that most people may never have the chance to see out in the wild. But this is because they inspire the preservation of animals in their habitats, rescue and rehabilitate troubled animals with hopes to one day release them, and even work with researchers on projects that would not even be possible to conduct on wild populations. A second reason is the loss of research efforts. Just before Mandry announced the end to the breeding program, SeaWorld was involved in a number of research projects with NOAA. Many of them required the use of the breeding program to be in place in order for researchers to properly collect much needed data to understand the orcas in a way that may not even be possible to do in a wild setting. This is because as the orca colony at SeaWorld begins to dwindle through the years, the researchers are going to lose chances to collect health data, blood samples measuring heart rates, lung capacity, documenting diets, growth, and even nursing patterns that would force all research projects to be limited completely, since they don't even have legal access to orcas residing at facilities in Canada, Russia, Japan, China, and Spain. So in order for a researcher to be able to interact and conduct research on an orca, they're going to have a scientist with a good question, healthy animals so they could get normal physiological rates, and trainers and vets who have known these animals very well and have helped raise many of them since birth. This is considering orca populations out in the wild are facing a lot of challenges relating to overfishing, pollution, climate change, and habitat destruction. And some of this research could even help understand a species that spends less than 5% of its time at the surface of the water, with there still being so much that it's yet to be known about orcas. Okay, a third reason is that orca society revolves around calf rearing. What most people do not understand is that orcas, like members of the dolphin family, are sexual animals. Although they will mate for pleasure, orca society revolves heavily around breeding females and raising calves, as it is a matriarchal society with pods being led by older and dominant females who help maintain and stabilize the family groups. In fact, pregnancy and calf rearing is considered to be stimulating to female orcas, and they will often babysit calves from other pods and teach them a pod's way of life, like how to interact with other orcas, how to hunt, and so on. So by taking that away from an animal that will often mate because they want to, it's only going to deprive them from a normal behavior pattern and may cause animals to become sexually frustrated. And no form of birth control is considered to be 100% effective, even with a lot of animals like orcas and sea lions. Okay, a fourth reason is basically a community would be put in jeopardy. It's very important that all zoos and aquariums continue to campaign to inspire people to know and love animals on every level, regardless of all the anti-zoo lobbying that surrounds them. Yet it's very uncertain that while they obviously will respect SeaWorld's decision to not breed its own animals, it's uncertain if they are going to want anything to do with them after its CEO decides to give in to activist demands, which is heavily frowned upon by the zoo and aquarium community. In addition, this move has now resulted in some lawmakers out in California to pass these laws that are intended to ban the keeping of killer whales in the care of man altogether. And if these laws pass, it's going to have a huge impact on the zoological community. Like any zoo that houses animals like pandas, monkeys, parrots, elephants, and even reptiles like turtles and alligators. And even some farms could even be affected, like those that house horses for jockey races and so on. And finally, another reason to be concerned is Russia. Currently, SeaWorld holds the largest genetic pool of killer whales in human care, and its decision to stop breeding its own whales in order to please a few soccer moms is just only going to make foreign facilities, especially those that are based in Asia, to turn to Russia to collect a few orcas to make up for a soon-to-be dwindling gene pool. Although Russia collects orcas to be displayed in aquariums in its own home market, they have begun to do so for aquariums in China. In fact, it is believed that within the next decade, China could be home to around 50 Russian-caught orcas alone. This is just a poor move on every level, that this breeding ban was decided without even looking at the impacts it could have elsewhere, especially in Russia, where collecting orcas from the wild has become lucrative in the eyes of China's animal industry. While I know a lot of people are not going to agree with me on why a breeding ban on orcas would have such an impact in a negative fashion, but again, I'm just sharing a few concerns about this issue while sharing a few points along the way. In the end, I could say that this ban is really not about the best interest in the animals, but more about caving into activist groups with an agenda of its own.